I honestly cannot explain what the holders of Nigerian electricity are up to today, but this show must go on and I must shoot this content today because if I don't, I won't be able to edit and post it on Sunday like I'm supposed to. So this is me being consistent. And another thing is I have blisters on my lips, but the show must go on. Hi guys, I'm sorry. I'm a bit overwhelmed. I have a lot to do, but I have to take out time because, like I said, I must shoot this content. So today we're going to be talking about Rebecca. Oh, my bad. Welcome to the lives of biblical wives, and we are on a roll. We are on a very interesting journey. Right now, we are on Rebecca's story. We have covered Eve, we have covered Noah's wife, we've covered Sarah, and now we're on to Rebecca. Who is excited? You are? Good. Let's get started. So, what will you do if someone shows up at your doorstep and they're like, there's a man you've never met in a country you have never heard of or probably you've never been to, and I believe he is supposed to be your husband? What will your response be in that moment? Will you be willing to go on that journey with that stranger to meet that husband of yours? No dating, no courtship, no chance to scroll through his social media and look at his pictures or ask around about his character or personality. The only question presented to you is, will you go? Like, will you come with me to meet this man? This is the exact question that was presented to Rebecca, and her response changed the entire trajectory of humanity and human history. So let's set the scene. Abraham is old. His son Isaac is still unmarried. At this point, he was about 40 years old. So he calls his most trusted servant and sent him on a mission. Imagine trusting somebody to that level at that point in time in life. I'm not sure if, well, 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 hopefully there are still people you can trust to that level in our dispensation and generation. But I digress. He called his servant and sent him on a mission. Go back to my people, go back to my homeland and find a wife for my son amongst my people, my own people. Do not take a Canaanite wife for my son. So the servant travels to the city of Nahor, I don't know. But yeah, he stops by the well. What's this? Something poked me. He stopped by the well and said a prayer. Right in the middle of shooting, I decided to check if I was still recording, and everything I said was not captured. Anyways, let me try again. I just hope I'm still in that mind space. So I was actually talking about the servant, how he prayed when he got to Nahor, and he asked God to make it easy for him by showing him a sign. The first maiden he approaches, who is drawing from the well, he would ask her for water, and the sign would be that instead of giving him water alone, she would also offer to give to his camels. I know you know this story, but stay with me. There's something I want to point out here, right? So when camels go through a very long journey, it takes about 20 to 30 gallons of water to quench their thirst, right? Now, he had about 10 camels. So let's say on an average, each camel drank about 20 gallons of water. That means in total, she did an average of 200 gallons of water for all the camels to be satisfied. Now, he made the prayer, and before he was even done, Rebecca appeared, right? Am I still recording? I'm just so skeptical right now. Okay. So Rebecca appeared and offered him water, offered his camels water, all of that amount of water. That's about 200 to 300 gallons of water. That's not a small gesture. That's a woman with extraordinary character, extraordinary patience, strength and generosity. Like, I can't even begin to describe Rebecca. You know, we read that story like a poem. I wanted to point that out because that's crazy. That's crazy. She didn't even care if she was being watched. She didn't even have an idea that she was being monitored and evaluated. All she knew is that she saw a problem, She saw a challenge, she saw a need, and she went ahead to meet that need. Very selfless. I love her. So that's who Rebekah was before she got married. She was a woman of initiative. And when I say woman, very, very young. I don't think she was even up to 18, because in those days they married really early. And she doesn't do things halfway. Bear that in mind, because this will come in handy as we go on in the story. Now, he follows her to her father's house. Laban is her elder brother, and he narrates everything, how he prayed to God and how everything played out. This servant gave them all the details and told them that he's very sure that Rebekah is his master Abraham's son's wife. He also told them how Isaac is heir apparent to everything that Abraham owns, and Abraham, of course, owns a lot. And it's something really significant that Rebekah's daddy and her elder brother did. In a culture where women's opinion really didn't count, women were seen and not heard, they asked her, would you like to follow this guy? That's something very significant in those days. And she said yes, that she would love to. No hesitation, she decided that she was going to go with him. That must have taken a very huge amount of faith, because she was living everything she was used to. And that reminds me of Sarah, because Sarah also, she was doing it with her hobby, but she actually left everything she was used to. This one is even a little bit deeper, because Sarah, of course, she was already familiar with her husband Abraham, but in this case, Rebekah didn't even know this servant. She had never seen Isaac, but she was willing to go. So, but yeah, they're very similar. Everything was just based entirely on the conviction that God was leading. Wow, people of those days had very great faith. Oh, wow, we should emulate them. We should. Well, I try to. So she packs her bags and she goes with this guy, this stranger. In this our 2026, I don't think anybody's going to do that though. Except you hear from God, like your mind is convinced. The risk plenty, boku, sheke. Hey. So she got there, she saw Isaac, a fine man, doing his thing in the field, and she got down from her camel. She asked the servant, who is that guy? And someone was like, that's Isaac, my master, my small oga. And she took her veil and covered herself. Look at the irony of that. As soon as she saw Isaac and they confirmed to her that that's Isaac, she covered herself. But in our day and age, it's like we're trying to open up so that we are chosen. See the irony. My God. We have a long way to go. No, think about that for a second. A man she's supposed to, impress. She saw him and covered herself. But if it's in our day and age, you start showing cleavage and all of that. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying, let's think about it for a second. Anyways, my darlings, let's go on. And Isaac saw her, and of course, it was love on sight. Hey! He now took her in as his wife, and what am I so... This Bible story is just get me in my feelings. I'm such a lover girl. Isaac, he just lost his mom, Sarah, so when he saw Rebekah, he was just comforted, and he took her in and loved her. Oh, love birds. So on a serious note though, Isaac had been grieving, and Rebekah's arrival just lightened things up for him. Aww. And that's the beginning of marriage. A man who, he didn't know her, I'm sure she was a beauty, drop dead gorgeous, but yeah, still there are drop dead gorgeous women that are taken for granted every day. But well, a lot is going on in my head. Let me just concentrate on this story. Case in point, Isaac saw her, decided, I'm sure he decided in his heart that this one is going to comfort me from my mother's death. So he took her in and loved her. And he decided to draw comfort from her. She's already an amazing girl. We can tell from the way she treated those camels and the servant. So everything played out nicely. Now, here is where we get honest. A marriage that starts beautifully can still develop fractures over time. And Rebekah and Isaac's marriage is a masterclass in how that can play out. So listen, this is where it gets interesting. Barrenness is a recurring wound in the lives of these biblical wives, and we cannot rush past that. So Isaac begins to pray for his wife. The Bible says, specifically that he pleaded with God on Rebekah's behalf. See husband now. Hey! He didn't blame her or anything. He started pleading that God should open her womb. God, of course, listened and opened her womb, and she conceived twins. The pregnancy is very turbulent, and Rebekah goes to ask God, "What's up, Daddy? What's going on, Father?" And God told her, "Little girl, 2 nations are in your womb, and the older one will serve the younger one." Yeah. But notice something, God speaks to Rebekah directly, not through Isaac, right? So she definitely has a relationship with God. She has access to him, and that really matters. She had a relationship with God, very important. So you know the story, these twins are born, they grew up, everybody had their own favorite. Rebekah's favorite was Jacob, and Isaac's favorite was Esau. This is what would eventually tear this family apart. Not outside pressure or enemies or whatever. Right inside there, this division will definitely play a very pivotal role in some negative things that would occur, right? There is a moment that now mirrors Sarah's story in a very painful way. A famine occurs. They go to Gerar, and just like his daddy, Abraham, Isaac told the men in Gerar that his wife Rebekah is his sister, because he was afraid they would kill him because of her. I want to ask the same question I asked last week when we were dissecting Sarah's story. What does this do to a woman in a marriage? When the person who is supposed to protect you, who is supposed to shield you, is asking you to be his own shield. Is this a sacrifice that is worth it, or something that could cause some sort of division? Let me know what you think in the comment section. So here is the part of Rebekah's story that confuses a lot of people and divides people into 2 camps, right? So Isaac is old now, and he's about to exit from this world. He wants to bless his favorite child, and he told him to go into the bush and hunt and prepare a meal for him, right? Rebekah overheard this conversation and acted fast, because she loved Jacob more, and prepared lentil stew, I think, and all of that. And he rushed into his father, disguised himself, and got the blessing, right? So some people believe that Rebekah was being very manipulative, but remember, God told her that the older was going to serve the younger. So it's probably her trying to help God fulfill the promise he made, or her being outrightly manipulative, or her being both. Nobody knows. But that is what happened. And when her son, Jacob, told her, what if his father finds out and curses him? What if his brother finds out? He said, let the curse be upon her. But here's the lesson in all of this, because I'm trying to make this video as compact as it can be. When we take the fulfillment of God's promise into our own hands, even with the best intentions, what do? We create consequences that we cannot undo. Just think about it for a second. So the blessing is stolen. Esau finds out. He wants to kill his brother. This story. Rebekah tells Jacob, go to my brother, stay for a few days. But guess what? A few days turned to 20 years. And I don't think she even ever saw her son before she left this world. So you see the consequences of everything that played out. God would have handled this thing without her help. But she decided to, emulate her mother-in-law, who tried to help God and birthed Ishmael. Now, she was trying to help God and lost her son. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Let's stop trying to help God. Rebekah and Isaac's marriage comes with the most relevant lessons for women today. The first lesson is favoritism inside a marriage, or will I say inside a family, is slow poison. When 2 parents take sides, I love this child more than this, and it's very evident, the children don't just notice that, they are shaped by that. It was easy to tell that the twins were very competitive, like they had friction between them, and they grew up with it. Esau's bitterness, Jacob's cunningness, was nurtured in a house where love was uneven. What we model in our marriages will form the kind of people that our children become. The second lesson is, when your husband is not moving in the direction that you feel like God intended for him to move, the answer is not to go around him. Allow God do his thing. Rebekah had God on her side. She had the truth on her side. But the method she used to bring that truth to pass fractured her family, and it took generations for that healing to come. There's a difference between interceding for a promise and manipulating the outcome. The third one is, a woman can be deeply capable, deeply faithful, and still make decisions in her marriage that will cost her a lot more than she anticipated. Rebekah is not a villain. She's a brilliant, strong, God-seeking woman who loved fiercely, acted boldly, but still got it wrong in one defining moment. But grace existed for Rebekah, and grace exists for every Rebekah in our day and age. Before we go, let's dissect how Rebekah's story connects to the larger story of redemption. Jacob, the son she fought for, the son she secured the blessing for, becomes Israel. His 12 sons become the 12 tribes, and from one of those tribes came David, and from David eventually comes Jesus. Rebekah didn't know she was protecting a bloodline. She thought she was protecting her son. But God was working through her complicated, manipulative, imperfect, deeply human choices to keep the thread intact. If you don't understand what I just did, that means you've not been watching my episodes on the series The Scarlet Thread. The name was gotten from Rahab's story. You are missing out. You should catch up on that. It's posted on YouTube Shorts every Monday and Wednesday, and it's also posted on TikTok and Instagram. So back to God. He does that. He takes our mess and weaves it into his plan because he is faithful even when we're not. Rebekah started as a woman with extraordinary faith, the kind who said yes even before she had all the information she needed. She left everything for a promise, and when she arrived, she brought comfort to a grieving man. She ended her story separated from a son she loved most because of a choice she made in one desperate moment. So if you're a woman who has made a choice you cannot undo, who is living with the gap between what you intended and what actually happened, Rebekah is your sister. God did not discard her. He didn't erase her from the story. He kept walking through the fracture, through the distance, through the consequences. He's still working through yours. I'm Oge. This is Lives of Biblical Wives on Kanma Living. Please share this with a woman who needs to hear it today. Please come back on Sunday, because the next wife we're going to be sitting with, her story will break your heart and put it back together at the same time. See you on Sunday. I love you. Thank you so much. And please subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know if you're loving all this series. Before I go, yes, I have At the Scent of Water, I have The Scarlet Thread and Lives of Biblical Wives showing all over social media. It's overwhelming. It's not easy. So I need support. Please, if you leave comments, it will encourage me to continue. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much. Please, let's build this community to the glory of God. And I'll see you next week. Mwah! Thank you for watching. Mwah!